Dale Earnhardt, just to name a few. And we've been talking about it all show. Now is the time. Everybody's in the house. NASCAR Chief Operating Officer Steve O'Donnell back with us. Joining him, President and CEO of Speedway Motorsports, Marcus Smith, and the Hall of Famer, NBC analyst Dale Jr. is in the house. Okay, I gotta ask this question, right? All right, Marcus comes to you. I know that Dale was very vocal about making this happen. Marcus comes to you and says, hey, I think we can make this work. What is the reaction from yourself and from NASCAR?
No, I think we thought it was perfect. We had talks, before in terms of, where could North Wilkesboro fit? And, when you start looking at that as part of a 75th anniversary, nothing better. I mean, we couldn't be more excited about it.
But I bet you always get nervous when Marcus says, what do you think about it?
Yeah, it's usually a little wild, but we always come up with some cool stuff.
Steve's one of our biggest supporters. I love it. He's usually very receptive to, hey, I got an idea. And usually, it works out.
So, Dale, you're the one that kind of instigated this. When did you first start thinking about this racetrack that had just been laying there since 1996? And did you ever think truly we would be to the point where we're going to run this all-star race here in just a little over a month?
Well, there's a lot of people around North Wilkesboro that have been thinking about this much longer than I have. And there's been a lot of effort around the racetrack for over a decade to try to keep that track's story alive, right? And Marcus has been part of that. He's heard from the community that they want racing back at that racetrack for years. And I never thought it would happen. I honestly didn't. We went there, and as you see, we're cleaning up the racetrack to scan it for iRacing, because I thought, man, if it's gonna go away, if someday it does, come down entirely, at least we'll have it virtually in some way. So, we got to looking around, and that day, I think me and Marcus both were looking at racetrack going, it ain't in bad shape. It's really not in too bad a shape. And so, then we started thinking about other things that we could do there, and talking about taking a cars tour race there, which we eventually did last August. And we had, I'm telling you, when everybody comes out to this all-star race and stands down there right before they fire the engines for that race, you're going to feel something inside of you, Larry, that you ain't felt in a long time. I promise you that. It's a really, really cool feeling. When we were there in August, it was amazing how nostalgic it felt. And it's a special place. So we're all going to have a lot of fun here in May.
Almost makes me feel like when we went to 1992 with one hot night under the lights. It has that feel about it.
Yeah, it does. Last summer, being there with Dale, with all the fans just packed in the stands, it was magical. And it really kind of transformed my mind from, could it be possible to, man, we got to make this happen. And that was the night, the first night when we packed it out. It was the night before you raced. Gosh, it was amazing. So huge thanks to all the fans out there. They're the ones that make this happen.
I don't know how well it's translating to you folks at home, but the excitement from these guys, it's really palpable. And this is exciting right here. Take a look. It's the format for the All-Star event. Friday qualifying Pit Crew Challenge is back, Larry Mack. What about that, huh?
Yeah, I really am liking that. And the fact that the pit crew is going to be involved, where not only the drivers start in the All-Star race, but something we've never done before, actually where the drivers are going to start in the open race. That's pretty cool.
That's right.
It's we thought, so we're going to have the heat races on Saturday, and how do you make those heat races matter, right, when there's no elimination factor? How do you really bring the pit crews into play and put a ton of pressure on them, not only to win the championship, the world championship of pit crews? They're going to be a trophy that they get to take back to their shop, and the next team that wins it the next year gets to come and get that trophy and take it to their shop. It'll travel around from team to team. It'll be something that they all really seek after to win. So there'll be a champion pit crew on Friday night, and then the time that they get during their pit stop that'll be how they're going to start the open. That'll be how they're going to start those heat races. Yeah. And so we're trying to make those heat races matter, right? Instead of starting the fastest car up front and turning them loose for 60 laps, why don't we make it a little more difficult? Why don't we bring the pit crews into play early in the weekend and make those guys really, the ones that get themselves in a hole in that starting spot have to work all weekend through the heat races and through the main event as well to try to put themselves in position to win.
Dale, I remember early in my career covering that Pit Crew Challenge like so many times, and just the excitement from the guys, right? The guys being able to be a part of that. And I'm sure you talk to so many of them that are so happy that this is back.
Well, the guys that are performing really well right now, they're obviously very excited about it. They're looking at that trophy and trying to take it home. But I wanted to figure out a way, or we wanted to figure out a way to really make that pit crew And that pit stop on Friday night impact the entire weekend. Not just, hey, we're going to win a trophy and there we go, the pit crew championship is over with. That really has implications that play out throughout the weekend.
Yeah, so thinking about heat races, we see it at short tracks, some dirt tracks that we go to. Was this your idea?
It was. I mean, we wanted
You'll take credit for this.
I will.
Well, I got to tell you,
Explain this.
Dale has a lot on the line here. He's put a lot of time in really since we talked about it, coming back from a race one day and then going out and weed eating and all the time on the podcast and then talking about it personally. So I actually gave Dale an official job and title.
Oh.
What's his title?
Dale Jr. is the chairman of the board of North Wilkesboro Speedway. He's earned it.
I asked him who's on the board. He said, you and me. So, but I really, I just took some ideas to Marcus and his team. They've came up with some other ideas themselves and sort of brought this all together. But I think NASCAR, Marcus and his crew, everybody understands that the racetrack is the star here. I know we've got the greatest race car drivers, the greatest stock car drivers in the world that are going to compete for $1 million. And one of them guys is going to be standing there holding the trophy at the end of the night. But all of us coming back to North Wilkesboro after so many years, that's what this is all about. So with the heat races, the main event, we want to give them plenty of laps, plenty of racing so the fans get to see all they want.
Well, the format for you guys at NASCAR, Steve, obviously some of the things are the same, especially with the open, the fan vote. Are some of these things things that you guys definitely wanted to still be part of? Are there anything that you might have added or taken away?
No, I think it's a good combination, right, of going back old school, of what you see at short tracks, what we did at the Coliseum a little bit. It works. And then, Dale said it, North Wilkesboro is the star. So, people embrace short track racing and we've tried some things in the past, right? Some of them work, some of them, hey, maybe try something different, new technologies, but this is all about, 75 years, North Wilkesboro, old school racing. Still have the fan vote, which will be cool, because as Marcus said, the fans are what really made this all happen.
What is the balance between old school and new school, right? Because I feel like there's a lot of fans that are used to a certain type of racetrack, right? You have Wi-Fi, you have all of this stuff, and we do want to celebrate the throwback. So what is that balance that fans will experience?
So I call it, it's a resto-mod of a racetrack. It's a restoration and a modernization of this racetrack. So when you go there, it's still going to feel like you're walking back in history, but of course the plumbing will work, the lights will work. We're going to have wireless there. It's going to be a great experience for everybody. We have packed that place, so there's not an inch that's not spoken for. I'm excited that when fans get to go there, they're going to feel like they're part of history because you're going to step back into this museum of a racetrack. And then, and of course, we're gonna use the whole week. We've got racing with the Cars Tour and Dale and a bunch of other Cup drivers on Tuesday and Wednesday, and we're gonna stretch it out with concerts and racing. It's going to be a really, really good weekend.
Well, I've been pretty excited about the format for the All-Star race because I think back to Texas last year. I got a call from one of my bosses, Jacob Ullman, said, we need you to go to Texas to explain each stage one at a time. And you might want to think about bringing your calculator to figure. This is pretty simple right here. 200 laps. We're going to have a break about lap 100. But Bobby Dale, what I like, you can only change one more set of tires after lap 100.
We know how this is going to go. You're going to have to feather that throttle because we all know how wore out that surface is, which is going to make it so much exciting. I know we both raced there a little bit on this, recently, so it'll be exciting to see with limited tire changes.
Yeah, I was trying to tell Marcus, I was like, you got to try to find a way not to let them put on tires every time they can. Try to make them understand, they got to work on their cars and make the cars work, not wear out the tires. Drivers love fall off, right? They love the cars to slow down, slide around. They're going to get more than they bargained for because this place is as wore out as anywhere. And so it's going to be a lot of fun seeing who can figure that out and time that just right. They're going to have one set of tires. When to use that set of tires, whether to hang on to them for a late yellow. It's going to be interesting to see the strategy play out.
It's really cool, though, when you look at this, right, do you test certain ideas, right? So this is going back old school, but it's also Goodyear's done a nice job of tire fall off, but because of stages and where the cautions fall, we don't see this. this is something, hey, if this works,
Well, yeah,
we
crew
can
chief's
look at
worst
it.
nightmare
Right.
being a caution at lap 130 and saying, we're not going to pit. We're going to save these tires and go the rest of the race caution free, and those tires be sitting there in the pits.
Well, I got to add on to it that one of the first things Dale said is don't pay the track. Don't pay the track. So I was out walking the track just a couple days ago with Steve Swift and Jessica Fickenshire, and I was looking at that track, and there's not a lot of like normal smooth space. I mean, there might be just 2 or 3 square feet on the entire surface. It is a rough surface, and it's going to present a big challenge. And I love that. I mean, all the feedback that we've had from drivers on this track with practice and everything so far has been positive, which is highly unusual.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
You know what's cool? I could just like imagine Dale just like drinking a beer, like we're gonna do this next, we're gonna do this next, and like coming to you with all of these ideas. I would love to know, maybe this is a conversation for another time, what didn't get passed that he may have presented that maybe we'll see in future years. You are actually gonna hit the racetrack, right? You're gonna be racing, as I think one of you guys just mentioned, the week leading up to the All-Star race. So tell me about that.
Marcus did mention there's a lot of racing going on. There's a lot of concerts. There's just a whole bunch packed into that one week. There'll be super late model races on Tuesday. There's a pro late model and a Cars Tour late model stock race on Wednesday. I'll be racing in the Cars Tour late model stock race. And there's going to be a lot of truck and Xfinity and Cup drivers in those different races throughout the week. Then you have the truck race itself later in the weekend. So there's a lot going on. There you see the Sun Drop car. I'm going to be running that again.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's an old throwback paint scheme of mine that I ran back in the mid-'90s, and we had so much fun in August with that car. And talked to Sundrop about doing more, and they're excited. Local brand, a Carolina brand, kind of the home team, if you will. So excited to do all that again.
You'll bring your pit crew back?
Well, we'll see. I mean, it's one of the things. Everybody wants to come out, so that's one of the things about going to this race is everybody's going to want to be there, and so I'm going to see how many tickets Marcus will let me have.
I got some held back for you.
What are the drivers saying to you, Dale, about this?
I'm sure some of them are sitting home right now scratching their heads, but the ones that I've talked to, that pit crew challenge and how that's going to have implications on where they start the race is a unique thing, and that's asking the drivers to take on a lot, right? Because if their pit crew underperforms during that one particular stop, that's going to make that weekend difficult for them. But we hope they embrace it. This is a unique race. It's not a points race. It's for $1 million. It's for entertainment. It's to excite the fans. It's to put on a show. And I think all the drivers will embrace what we're doing.
Awesome. You guys are awesome to be here to talk about this, building up all this anticipation. Something else that we're anticipating that NASCAR